All right, everybody. Welcome to the Light Owl Healing Podcast. I'm here with my good friend, Jonathan Wolf. Jonathan has been practicing yoga for 20 years, teaching for 14. He has over 10 years of experience healing others with bodywork and over 15 years making bamboo flutes and playing them in ceremony. He helps people feel more embodiment with breath, presence, pressure, and sound. Thank you, Jonathan, for being here. I appreciate you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And just to start, I'd kind of love to just dive into when you started your healing journey, what was the main inspiration for that? And, how did that take you through to your life to where you are now?
Okay. So I guess it began my own sense of healing. When I was much younger, I got a little bit chubby, a little chunky monkey, and I knew I wanted to not be that way. And so I eventually got my hands on a book that helped illustrate Taoist yoga, and there were some great exercises to do right from the book. And that took me on into my college years, and I met a gentleman who was a martial artist, and he showed me a routine, and I was diligent. I showed up at his place twice a week, started to do it on my own, and finally got myself the courage to go to a yoga class and realized that I could keep up with it, and that I really felt good, and I didn't feel out of place. And I was really sweet people too. They were really encouraging of beginners and people that were new, so I didn't feel left out. Yeah.
Nice. I love that when you get into, movement practices and you're in a community of people, especially if you've got some self-image stuff.
Yeah.
I think so many people deal with that type of a thing, and, being able to just go out and do not only something that feels good, but that you can make yourself feel good about more, kind of that self-confidence. I think movement practices are great for that.
So agree. I think a lot of us have some kind of ultimate fear of being rejected, and for whatever reason,
it's pretty deep-seated too.
It is, and it's very much part of our human experience. And it took me some good prodding to actually go to the class in what would be a public arena versus doing it in the safety and comfort of my own home. But knowing that having one-on-one instruction and having somebody come and actually be there to help adjust or give you a suggestion of how to feel more embodied within the practice, it was so valuable, and I'm really glad that I finally got the courage and enough human prodding and to actually go. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So you were taking yoga, and then how did that move from you taking a lot of yoga and being really into it, and that kind of being a part of your exercise and self-vitalization? How did that go from you taking those classes to wanting to teach people?
Yeah, that's a good question. I had the chance to leave Florida and go to the small college town of Columbia, Missouri, and there was a woman involved that I was in love with.
There's always a woman involved.
Always a woman involved. Well, and so when I got there, I was still wanting to practice yoga. It was something that I was really enjoying. It was about 4 years of being a student at that time. And her friends pointed me to a direction of a gentleman teaching on donation. His name was D.H. Parsons. And I went for a good 9 months, and before this woman and I moved to the Big Island of Hawaii, which was our plan all along. We didn't want to stay in Columbia, Missouri. But in any case, so I would go to this class, and I was able to pay $5. I was able to give them an orange if I didn't have enough money. And the style of yoga, it was very different. It was not like these yoga body types from college. They were older and a little bit more frumpier and these things, but they were able to do all of the poses this gentleman taught, and I was really inspired by that, but also a little bit curious how this is working. And he also taught the same class, the same flow each class, and for my judgments at first were how uncreative, and there's no down dog, there's no lunge, but I realized the beauty of doing something over and over and over again, and I got that depth, and just as we were about to move to Hawaii, he offered to certify me. And initially I was, well, how much is this going to cost? I don't really have a lot of money. I'm about to move to Hawaii for a while. And he said, well, I only offer it to students who've supported me for about a year. You've already paid your tuition. And I was just floored by that. And
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing, though. I think some of the best teachers that I've ever come across, they really just care about sharing.
Yeah.
And they really care about sharing just like tradition and, some practices like yoga, they're so deep and there's, thousands of years old of just like word of mouth and like teaching, from, master to student or, teacher to student. I try to use the word master lightly. But yeah, it's crazy when we leave the money out of it and we really just care about the love of sharing and that's really sweet.
We're really privileged to be living in a time where all of these amazing healing arts are accessible. Yoga, all the meridian theory from Asian medicines and healing modalities, this was all very kept secret and only decimated between a teacher and a student. It was usually for the upper caste only.
Yeah, royalty.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that the quote-unquote commoner like me could ever dabble or experience or uptake. Mm-hmm. And today's a very different day. Thankful for that. Yeah.
Nice. And then flutes. You've been making bamboo flutes for how many years? 15?
Yeah.
How did that get started?
Well, it kind of happened right in sync with going to Hawaii. I got there to study permaculture and community living, and almost right off the bat, at a farmer's market we were working at, this gentleman, I got a flute from him. I bartered with him a little bit in price. I saw him multiple weeks in a row, and at the 6th week, he said, hey, do you want to learn how to make these? And I was like, absolutely.
Heck yeah.
It was a great opportunity. He was leaving the Big Island with his partner, and so he wanted to pass it on to someone before he left. He'd done that many times in his life, and I got to be that right person in the right place at the right time, and it led me to playing flutes in yoga classes, which was something he didn't do, but something I was already, in the yoga world. I thought this would be nice during Shavasana. And it gave me great access to taking a tremendous amount of classes on exchange for playing a little bit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What a wonderful trade.
Yeah.
Skill trade.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice.
Would you like to hear a little flute?
Sure, yeah.
I'm going to play you the one that I play most often in Shavasana. It's the key of A. And I'll give you all listeners a little chance to hear.
Cool, let me check levels. So that makes sure. Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Wow. That's so good. So you've been playing as long as you've been making them.
Playing a little bit longer.
Okay.
Someone gave me a flute in college, and I figured out how to play it. It was a side-blown flute. And then lost that flute somehow, got to Hawaii, and then was apprenticed. At first, I had a trouble playing. These are end-blown flutes. They're, of course, you can't see them because we're doing a podcast, but
I'll leave a link in to your shop and stuff like that.
Awesome, but they're end blown rather than side blown, and so initially I had a little trouble trying to figure it out. And the gentleman, his name is Michael Morningson, who apprenticed me. He was a wonderful teacher, and over the years I realized how much that matters to get people excited and to see that they can play the flute too. And I've become a good teacher as well, getting people to get that first sound even for people who've never played an instrument before, which is it's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. How can people find you online? Like, if people are gonna find you to get a flute?
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, how do they find you?
Well, the easiest way is I have a Facebook fan page. It's called Dragon Flutes Rising. And dragon, like the mythical creature, and flutes are plural because there's more than one, and rising like the sun. Dragon Flutes Rising. Yeah, you can find me that way.
Cool. Heck yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about yoga. I'm curious because I think some people don't know anything about yoga, and some people know, some people know a lot. But how does yoga help people? Like, what does yoga do for people? What does it do for the body? And how does the body heal through yoga? In your own words,
right?
Because there's probably a lot of different ways.
Great questions and great deep questions. To start off with, I've really just experienced yoga as a physical form. I'm not a yoga scholar. I haven't gone through and studied a lot of philosophies or read Sanskrit or study the Bhagavad Gita. That being said, my personal experience moving through yoga, it feels like, in lack of better words, like I'm giving myself a massage, using my breath.
Like an internal massage, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. When I move through the different asana, different poses, and you get your breath involved, I like to have 3 to 5 breaths per pose so that I can really feel what's happening. The first breath that gets in there is going to be different than the 5th breath that gets even further or even deeper. And it feels like it expands your sense of being able to feel, and literally feel the breeze on your skin, or feel an emotion that might otherwise be like, oh, I don't know if I want to feel that, and let's compartmentalize that away and not give it any light. Yoga's been something that has expanded my being of simply being a human, and it has influenced things like the way I walk, the way that I feel I can move in my body and dance. All of these things have become influenced, and to the better degree, absolutely yummed up by the experience of yoga. People call it prana or chi or energy,
like
that
force.
We're moving, life force that we're moving, or like the force from Star Wars that we're generating and cultivating when we do a practice, be it tai chi or qigong or yoga or dancing or hiking. All these practices that we do move energy through our bodies, and there's something about yoga where you're moving and getting into areas, hopefully covering the entirety of the body. Say we're hiking and walking, you might feel it in your legs a lot, maybe in your arms a bit. Oh, yoga, you're getting into your hips, your low back, your hamstrings, the core, how to feel your neck not work so hard in a balancing pose. All of these different sweet spaces to get into, and it's entirely something that happens for each individual. So there's not one single way. There's many ways up that mountain. And most importantly, it allows you to develop, in my opinion, your own experience of feeling inside of your body. And no teacher is ever going to know what you're feeling. So you start to begin to trust what it is you're feeling, and trust to know where your boundaries are, where your edge is for not overdoing it. And it's such a sublime experience that you can go into any class and take, safeguard yourself with knowing what feels good, and what feels good you follow more of. If it doesn't feel good, well, then we can make an adjustment. But there's no need to be worried, in a sense, about going too far. And no, good yoga teacher pushes people. They suggest more opening, but they're not going to get your hands on there and shove you into a pose. That's not the point. So yeah, that's a brief, as brief as I can be.
I think we could all go on forever about how, yoga is just one healing practice too, and one way of accessing all of the different energies that move through the body. You've got like all of these ancient martial arts like kung fu and jiu-jitsu, and all of those have their own kind of flavor of or kind of like path to that truth of how can we vitalize the body and how can we begin to circulate this energy through the body. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing that came to mind when you brought that up, speaking from my own gender as a man, it seems like men often have this idea of like no pain, no gain. In the yoga world, sometimes we call that the struggle master, where you're like, I'm gonna get it into this pose and I'm gonna get as deep as I can, and if I'm not,
yeah.
Versus, and that's like, it's so not the way your breath works within those poses.
Well, it's not even the way your nervous system is wired to
No.
like do things.
Especially if you want to like of course, if you want to deepen your experience, I've realized how much I'd blow past certain edges thinking that that was the valuable thing to do to get in there the way that it's supposed to look like or something, versus the way it feels good in my body. And I've often realized backing off of a pose, letting up a bit, deepening my breath was the absolute cure for that.
Yeah. So with all of that being said, I think that's a great segue into talking about bodywork. How long have you been practicing bodywork?
It's going on just over 10 years. Wow. My journey with yoga, bodywork, and these flutes has all been like a beautiful journey that in some ways culminated with me experiencing and meeting an individual that became my mentor. His name is Brian Campbell, and he teaches a style of forest yoga, or called forest yoga, which is what I teach now as well. And I met him back in Hawaii in 2005. He happened to be teaching a workshop at the same yoga ashram I was doing work exchange at. I was already making my flutes, but I didn't have a lot of confidence that people would want to have that in a yoga ceremony. He invited me to that. He invited me to Los Angeles, where he taught regularly, and I got to explore forest yoga through him. And he's also a very accomplished body worker. He taught on faculty at the Shiatsu Massage School of California. And after meeting him for 4 years, I eventually enrolled in the training that he did in LA in 2009. And it was 7 months. It was wonderful. And I continued to, continued to be a student of his over the years. Now he teaches something called Yoga Body Workers, which is wonderful. It blends yoga and body work in a setting where they'll have yoga ceremony in the morning, you have a break for lunch, and then you learn great ways to get into the structural muscles, sometimes using a yoga pose as an access point, sometimes using like Thai massage or table massage as access points. And it's meant for both yogis and body workers alike to see how those two forms, blend together. And as a practitioner like you are, as a therapist, it's so important that we vitalize our bodies.
Totally.
So that we're not getting burnt out, that we're not,
structurally
damaging ourselves. Yeah. And yoga's been such a big benefit for that. One of the things Brian taught me right off the bat is like, if you're not comfortable in your body when you're giving someone bodywork session, they can feel that, and you can't feel them as deeply because something's going on in your own body that's taking that attention. And
it's a pretty beautiful kind of symbiosis between the experience of falling deeper into a pose in yoga, and also, I think your body has that same kind of a reaction when we're receiving body work, like sometimes you're not going to be able to get there in one day, you kind of have to set goals, and sometimes it's like, oh, I can feel where that is, I can feel where I'm kind of coming up against myself, and this part of my body is trying to release, and you can't just make it there in one session. And there's like that, what did you call it when you're working too hard and you're trying to like
struggle master. That's not my terminology, though I love it, but it's actually a forest yoga term, and it's so usually just defines the alpha male pretty well. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people too, when they get a massage, they're like, go go deeper, like put your arm into it, put your back into it, and I think that attitude a lot of times is not necessarily what our bodies need.
I so agree with that.
I think we need to educate people. It's like if I put my elbow in there, yeah, it might feel good. Like your dopamine and serotonin receptors might go all bonkers, but that's more short-term kind of benefit. Whereas really going slower and going deeper into the tissues that we're working with helps the nervous system relax. And
when people ask me to go deeper, I mean, we always want to accommodate what they're asking,
right?
But usually I really try to get people to open up their breath. That their breath on the table is going to influence that chi, that's life force, is going to influence how they feel from the pressure, more so than just more pressure, and it's been a very valuable tool. Some people are wonderful at going and exploring something they haven't done, like trying to breathe deeper and breathe consciously while they're getting body work. Other people, it's not what they're there for, or they would rather not, quote unquote, work that hard. And to me, that's a major difference between like massage and body work. The body work, when you're receiving body work versus receiving massage, when you're receiving body work, you have a vested interest in being present and to realize that the person is setting the table for your body to heal, and that you then go and sit down at that table and enjoy.
Yeah.
Versus, it's nothing quite wrong with it, but in massage it can be a little bit more passive. We're just like, hey, I'm here, do your thing to me. I want to feel good.
Right.
And that's okay too for people that want that. It feels that, in my opinion, that bodywork just goes a bit deeper when people take on their own responsibility for healing their stuff. And that brings us to be able to communicate what they need more of. Sometimes it is more pressure. Sometimes it's less. Sometimes it's, are we working in the right area? Are we tending to the thing that you need more of? And when people have that space to be able to confidently and comfortably communicate, wow, I mean, that goes for anything that we're doing, right? When we can communicate well, it just allows the light of consciousness to shine more, and we all get what we want more, and that's a good thing, to get what you want.
Absolutely.
As long as it's supporting the greater whole around you, Yay.
Nice. Heck yeah. So you were telling me a little bit maybe a week ago or something like that, about how you're traveling to Thailand to go learn more body work. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about your travels and where that's taken you, as far as learning more, and then also where you plan on going.
All right, absolutely. So forest yoga, which is something I finally got
I love
certified
garbage
in.
trucks, by the way. They're the best.
Yeah. Well, they do the dirty work for us. And I think that might have been a recycling one, which we definitely need. So, forest yoga has led me on a lot of journeys to places I hadn't been before to train. The first one was in Berlin. It was a foundation training for 26 days, and I got to give myself a few days before and after to be a tourist. I got to go to Edinburgh to do a mentorship training with forest yoga as well, and that was just last year. This coming year, in September, I'll be October rather, get a chance to go to Chiang Mai and take yet another training.
Chiang Mai is in Thailand?
Thailand, yeah.
Oh, okay.
In the north of Thailand. And it has nothing to do with Thai massage, although I'll be getting lots of Thai massage myself.
Good for you.
But it's going to be another yoga bodyworkers training. I got a chance to take a yoga bodyworkers training here in Portland.
Yoda,
that would be a really good.
Get the force.
Yoda.
All about that prana.
For real. But yeah, so the yoga bodyworkers trainings have been all over the globe, and they did one in July of 2017 here in Portland. That was one of their stops, and I was really fortunate to go and take part in that. I'm going to go to this one in Chiang Mai. I've never been to Thailand before. I'm really excited to go. And as I mentioned before, it's a 10-day course where they have every morning is a 2 to 3 hour yoga ceremony to start the day. You take a little break, come back and have 5 hours of learning structural muscles and ways to get into the structural muscles.
Wow, cool.
Using either yoga poses, or sometimes just getting right into some like more like Thai massage, or not really Thai massage, but using a mat on the floor like Thai massage does, or using a table to get into those structural muscles. And it's a wonderful experience.
And this is forest yoga?
Well,
or the yoga body workers?
The teachers that
so
teach
it's the same
it,
teacher.
Well, right. So there's the two gentlemen. They're both forest yoga guardian level teachers. They use forest yoga in the yoga ceremony part. And they're also both accomplished massage therapists / body workers / teachers of body work and anatomy and all these wonderful things. And so they brought this is like their offering now. They also teach and do massage therapy as well throughout the world, but this is something they wanted to blend together and share with people who are maybe just in one camp or the other. Maybe they're only therapists and they haven't explored their body's chi or prana and yoga. Or maybe they're only yoga teachers who get their hands on people and hands-on assists and realize, wow, there's a lot more I could do. Knowing all of the energy that I've cultivated in my body through my yoga practice, I can move through my hands now and just get a little taste for it, and then realize this is something I want to go and, get certified in. So it's a wonderful way to mix those two worlds. And as we talked about, being and feeling supported within your own body as a massage therapist is really valuable.
Absolutely.
So that, we continue to stay in great form and then can be available for others in that same way.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody was, really wanting to experience forest yoga or to take a forest yoga training, how does somebody find that information? Yeah,
so forest yoga is all over the internet. There's great resources for Anna Forest. She has 2 R's in her last name. There's a forestyoga.com, for instance. But there's also, there's free or downloadable classes if you like taking classes on it through the computer. There's free resources like YouTube, you can hear Anna talk. And then on the Forest Yoga website, there's like a geographical sorting of the forest yoga teachers in your neck of the woods. So you can find a forest yoga teacher nearby.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you know how many teachers there are?
Worldwide, there's thousands. Yeah, probably tens of thousands. Anna's been, she's been doing teacher trainings for 30 plus years. She's been a teacher herself for 40 years, and she's in her 60s.
Wow.
Yeah, she got to study with some big names in mid 70s in India. And then also
Nala. Got my cat out here.
And wanted to just bring what she brought, what she learned really, to the Western world.
Cool. Well, Jonathan, your healing practice now, what kind of services are you offering people?
I teach a regular class here in Portland at Planet Granite, and then I also offer people sessions doing body work. Sometimes people will come in and do a combination session where they do 20 to 30 minutes of focused yoga for a specific area of the body that they need it, and then do the rest of the time on the table. That's a nice experience. And depending on the desire, I also play a little flute music, usually right at the end of the bodywork session. I definitely play flutes in my own classes that I teach. And those are the main things that I offer. Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Cool. And if somebody was going to try to book a session with you, how do people find you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have a fan page as well, like an artist page on Facebook for my massage and bodywork. It's called Wolf Massage and Movement. My last name is Wolf, Jonathan Wolf. They can find me that way. If email is better for you or just easier, I have a great, very easy email address. It's jonathanlovesyoga@gmail.com.
That's so good!
Can you believe that only 3 years ago that was totally still there? And I just was like, I'm taking
Jonathan Loves Yoga. Wow, I can't believe that. It's not like Jonathan Loves Yoga 1,000,006.
Right. Yeah, Jonathan Loves Yoga, and it's JONATHAN. That's pretty normal spelling of Jonathan.
Nice, cool. So, And then, anything else you want to kind of leave people with as we're kind of transitioning out of the podcast?
Well, maybe when that garbage truck moves. Or maybe that's recycling, right? It's recycling. Maybe I'll close with just another little flute ditty from a different style of flute that I make. I make different keys of the flutes, of course, but also different scales. And this scale that I want to play for you is an Arabian scale, and it may just transport you on your little magic carpet somewhere.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me, Mason. For having us do this great podcast. I appreciate it.